according to my data set, right? And it's sketchy at best.
I'm wondering if we could follow. I know this sounds macabre, and I don't mean that to be. I'm not heartless about this. I'm just saying this is a reality. I wonder if you could follow it with the suicide numbers. In other words, track suicides, because in my profession, I think it's real. That's the way it's going to hit. When the big ugly hits physicians and they realize what they were suckered into, the ones you were saying, what we talked about earlier. This is the guys who they all their life they trained like I did, but I had a different background. I came from people that were farmers, and I think that helped. But anyway, people that had bought into the whole idea of organized medicine, and that everything the universities told you was true, and that you did the algorithms they told you, the peak of this big ugly. Right. I think you're right. Exactly. I didn't know it was going to be June, but
so in my estimation, given the hints that I get from the little tiny bit of the program I can still run, the energy that propels that is the economics. Okay, so in June, we have this peak big ugly, but it's going to be, and from there on, it goes flat. I mean, we keep that same level for a long time, right, before it starts waning. But what's going to power that is that through April and May, we're going to have this huge economic problem that will reach down to the core of everybody and get them so unstable that these thoughts can arise.
Okay. That makes so much sense.
They have mental barriers in there that prevent it from coming up as long as everything's functioning. And, but when they go to Starbucks and Starbucks is hollowed out, burned out, and there's no coffee for them, and they go to their office and nobody shows up for work and there's no power.
Just the Starbucks alone might unseat American society.
Yeah, that might do it.
Really
yeah. But you see my point that there.
Yeah, no, I see it.
There has to be an external disruption. So I read a lot of Lin Bao's stuff. My father was a serious military officer, and when he discovered in '67, I was interested in that. He would feed me this stuff over the years when he ever came across a good book on it. And Lin Bao.
Can you recommend a good book on it?
No, because most of them would that I was provided were things that circulated in the military.
With the military, yeah, okay.
Right, and a lot of it, was probably classified. And I didn't talk about it. I didn't do anything with it. I just read it because I was quite fascinated. But he was a genius, right? Lin Bao was. And he discovered, he analyzed Lin Biao's stuff, and they put a plan forward, and these two colonels started working on this plan.
Oh, yeah. Well, I read that's Wang and, unrestricted warfare.
Correct.
Like Colonels Wang and
whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And that was when they decided that there was going to be a two-pronged approach, and that they would enter the British first, but the two prongs would be media and colleges. Okay, and that was their entree into our society, that they could game those two systems most effectively. And they needed the media in order to be able to move the language the way they wanted and introduce the propaganda. Wow. And they needed the colleges in order to stop educating the people and start schooling them. And so that in '79, they had their plan, and they've been working it ever since. In the 1990s, it went active. Okay, so there is some small potential that Xi Jinping is in the same sort of a position as Trump in a sense. Okay, there's some small potential that Xi Jinping is trying to fight the deep state in his own social order, and that he sees the deep state is now cannibalizing China to a way that that he doesn't like and can't live with. But there's not a lot an individual can do, even as the all-powerful ruler of the CCP, right? Because if the intelligence agencies and those kind of things in the CCP, they can do to him what our intelligence agencies have been doing to Trump. The CIA is mostly Khazarian. They control the FBI, and that's how all this stuff happens, right? And so Xi Jinping may actually be trying to fight the deep state because of what they're doing in this regard.
And do you think it has anything to play? I mean, in China, we saw that thing with Hu Jintao where they took him out of the plenipotentiary session, And I heard that 100 guys got arrested that day at the old school, the old guard, the old,
Oh, it was more like 10,000.
well, whatever, big communist guys, the big leaders.
Right.
And then we see this thing in Thailand where the royal house of Thailand, which is very popular with the people, they've been lied to by their physician, their princess was in a coma and everything. So the question I have is, and then you hear, oh, and then there's this weird thing about this King George III that says, I'm the real blood heir of the throne, not these guys that are actually from blood Dracul, the Khazarians that are in there. But anyway, so the question is, are we seeing a resurgence of families that were the old royal houses? And is Xi Jinping part of that? Is that something that's playing a role here?
Xi Jinping has his own lineage issues going on there, right? And so there are indeed aristocratic lineage issues that do interact with the SOC, but the SOC in general is more egalitarian than, and is certainly not authoritative or centralized, but you're quite correct. But here's the thing, all of this has been carried by families. All right, so the people that are in the SOC, they know they're in the SOC because of what their fathers told them. They know they're in the SOC because of what their fathers told them.
So in a way, it's kind of like the royal lineage. I mean, it's just a
but okay, so
but different,
but different in the sense that at this time, it would be safe to say that a small, probably unknown number, but a small majority of the people that are involved in the SOC are of military lineage, not necessarily diplomatic or royal lineage, right? So a lot of this is carried down in military families.
So they're the majority of the SOC or the minority? I missed
that. They're a slight majority of the SOC.
Slight majority. Okay, so that makes sense to me too. I mean, I believe in, I never heard that term, the self-organizing, but I think that makes the best sense.
And you have to do it this way. Okay, so you have to do it this way. So as the let's say the Cathari have all of these weird sayings that inform and guide, and a lot of these have been the Cathari are not particularly warlike, okay, but they're very good fighters and very good warriors. Well, they were the Pirates of the Caribbean, right? And they were the scourge of the area, and the British feared them and so on. But it's a matter of not having an organization and being decentralized down to a tribal level, but having a sure understanding of the interaction with other people that are also doing this. So it's a self-organizing collective, and this is the weirdest kind of thing for a centralized authority to fight, right? Because who's in it and who isn't? And so this is the same rationale that they use